And here we are. It is Thursday night, getting ready for some football. We're halfway through this Thursday night game, but we're going to get you ready for week 3 here with you guys on the
Woo!
Fantasy podcast here, presented to you by rotoballer.com, rotoballer.com. Head over there for all your fantasy football needs with the greatest premium content that you can get your hands on. Use the promo code WooFantasy to get yourself a discount on the best premium content around at checkout. So definitely go and check that out at rotoballer.com, promo code WooFantasy. Joined as always with myself, the Roto Superstar, we have the co-host of the podcast joined with Woo Baby.
Woo Baby's here.
Official podcast debut. The real FF GOAT himself, Mr. Nick Heffley.
We're going to have to
present the baby to the audience there, young man.
This is Adeline Heffley. So she was born on Monday, and we got to bring her home when the Braves clinched the NL East on Tuesday. So she's already a sports baby. So she I don't know if you heard her. She did say woo.
It was
3 days old. She's already saying woo. So
woo/coo for the
That's
baby.
Right. Let's see if another baby can say the name of a podcast anywhere else out there. I don't think you can. So
yeah, I don't think you're going to catch that anywhere. You're only going to get that right here with the Woo Fantasy Podcast. That is for sure a definite. But
we're
now
gonna come back later with Adeline's pick of the week. So
with Adeline's pick of the week.
That's
so
right. Say bye.
Describe
she's even waving bye.
She is waving bye.
Bye.
Describe how the first few days of fatherhood has gone for you there, Mr. Heffley.
Everybody always says, you're going to be tired. You're going to be tired. Yeah. I'm pretty tired, but it's pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. It is pretty awesome there. So
as awesome as this Thursday night football game that we have in store for everyone right now. We're halfway through, just started the third quarter.
Sure. Oh, I'm about to get the poo-poo of the diaper there.
Yeah.
Two.
Oh, no.
The poo-poo too. It's kind of a stinker for a lot of fantasy owners here so far. I know DJ Shark being out. I started Laviska Shenault in some leagues. He's having an okay game, but what do we got? 4 touchdowns so far, and he's got none of them. We got Gesicki, Preston Williams. We got James Robinson in, and who am I leaving out here?
With the scores so far, it's been Jordan Howard.
Jordan Howard. That's it. That's what I'm missing. Yep.
Yeah.
Howard Gesicki, Robinson, and Preston Williams there.
Yes.
So. Yeah, I mean, Shark being out kind of hurt. I mean, I started Laviska Shenault in place of him, so hoping that gets going. I'm sure they're going to be having to chuck the ball trying to get back in here. So,
yeah, that's kind of the hopes right now. The way that the game was, I was expecting the first half to be a little bit more back and forth between the two teams. Miami was moving the ball fairly decent throughout the first half, so I'm hoping a reversal of fortune here. For the Jaguars in the second half. I think we're going to have to see a lot more Gardner Minshew in the passing attack to really get this game back under fold for the Jaguars, make it a lot more competitive.
Yeah, the thing that I think I've been impressed most of so far is the running backs in both these teams. I mean, James Robinson looks entrenched as the number one guy there, and where a lot of other teams you got some other running backs to mix in. They got nobody else. I mean, Raekwon Armstead's going to be back, at some point. But, I haven't heard a peep out of, the Raekwon Armstead folks out there. So nothing there. But, Myles Gaston's looked pretty good. But unfortunately, he's going to get vultured all day long at the end zone with Jordan Howard, who, God, does he suck. I mean, Jordan Howard's going to be good. But let's face it, he's Zach Crockett these days.
Yeah, exactly. That is the case. Kind of the way the performance has gone through the first half too. I had both Minshew and Fitzpatrick. I think Minshew 14th at quarterback.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick. I had Minshew at 14 at quarterback coming into this game for the week, and Fitzpatrick had him at 18 overall at quarterback heading into this week. So we'll go ahead and point that out too. Of course, that was the big news of the week. I will gladly pat myself on the back.
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me bring that up there.
Yeah,
you shouldn't
roll that one out.
You can pat yourself on the back all you want to, which you should. But kudos to our boy here. Out of all of the fantasy experts out there, through 2 weeks, our boy, the Roto Superstar, is ranked numero uno out there. Hold on.
I thank you. Yes.
All right.
Solid.
Now keep it up. Don't fuck things up.
Yeah. Solid week.
Or I'm sorry. Don't bleep things. I'm not supposed to. That's the tough thing, dude. When you got kids, it's tough not to cuss right now.
All right. Well, you kind of get to a point like I have in life. She's 13 years old. Lord knows she's heard that at school. So, we're gonna let him go at that point. She knows how to say it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I am currently the top rated, accuracy expert as far as positional rankings. When it comes to the fantasy football industry, it's a big accomplishment so far through the first 2 weeks. Like you said, I've got to keep it up. Yeah, but I had a very solid week 2 performance, finishing 3rd overall. But coupled with my week 1 performance, you gotta
have a strong couple weeks. You can't just have one good week and do this. You've had a strong first 2 weeks here going on. So
I did. And I had a very
tell everybody that your rankings overall, like position wise. I think that's what
I'd have to go back and look at it, but 6 at quarterback, 12th I think overall, or 14th at running back position. Wide receiver is a little bit tough at the moment. I'm kind of further down the board there, but tight end I'm number 2 in the industry. There's kind of together.
Tight end is the position you have always been really good at. So
yeah, I'm usually pretty good about picking those guys out. I did move up Mike Gesicki in this matchup here into believe around the 6th spot at tight end for the week. We've seen him already get in the end zone, so we're good there. I like that start. Should easily, I believe, finish with a top tight end 1 scoring week, especially getting into the end zone. So feeling good about the start, that's for sure. But coming into the game, how did you feel about this game as it was heading in? I know we're at halftime already, but who are you really kind of looking at with this matchup? We had Shark go down earlier in the day, which of course that seems to be the story of the NFL season. We keep talking about it on this podcast.
Injuries, holy crap!
But how did you view this matchup here coming in? What were some players you had your eye on here?
Yeah, Devontae Parker was somebody that I thought would come in and have a really nice game. He's got some catches. You're starting to see that, but he hasn't found the end zone here. So I think game script the rest of the way is going to come in, but Ron Fitzpatrick's not a guy he's going to hand the ball off even if they're up 2 scores here. He's going to keep chucking as he's showing right here. Now. He's not a guy who's going to come out and, we're up 30 points, we're going to run the ball. Hell no.
No, that's just not how they operate.
So he was definitely a guy that I was looking for. James Robinson is another one too. Who knew? I don't think anybody really knew who was going to be the guy at the beginning of the year, but he was somebody else that I thought was going to have a really nice game. And Laviska Shenault, again, was somebody who I thought, too, would come in and, we're seeing some catches from him. We're not getting in the end zone, just yet. But, this is where game script comes in. You get down like this, you got to chuck the ball. I don't think we're going to see a lot of running the ball here, especially it's 21-7 right now. If the Dolphins get a score right here, the Jags are going to have to start chucking. So I think we're going to see some Laviska here down the stretch.
So I had previously mentioned, it's been the week 2 seemed to be the house of horrors when it comes to injuries for top-tier stars in fantasy football. We saw Saquon Barkley go down. Christian McCaffrey is now down for a number of weeks. Of course, we're continuing to see players be out of practice. We see, Julio Jones is not practiced yet to start this week. Michael Thomas is not going to be playing. Cortland Sutton's gone for the year. Players left and right that are guys, we were counting on just 2 weeks ago to be stalwarts in our fantasy football lineups. Now we're, scrambling for the scraps on the waiver wire.
First 2 draft picks.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah, easily. That's the way it's worked so far. So now you find yourself in a position, you're a Barkley owner. You put yourself in those shoes. Who would you have bid up money-wise? Of course, we saw Devontae Freeman now. He's joined the New York Giants. We have to figure that he's going to be the guy moving forward for this team after, I would expect, this week. I think it's going to be a week where you're going to see more split time between Dion Lewis and Wayne Gallman. Would you have spent up for Devontae Freeman, used most of your fab, and hope for the best? How are you viewing that backfield?
If you're the Saquon Barkley owner, and even if you had Dion Lewis, who at least on the depth chart was probably the number 2, Dion Lewis is not a factor back here in the league, so you can't go at him. Wayne Gallman, they tried to make him the factor back. The year before Saquon Barkley was there, he floundered. So.
Yes, he did.
Again, this was the reason, and if you listen to our podcast, I preached it. Devontae Freeman, grab him late. He's going to sign with somebody, and he saw the injuries come down, and now he is in a golden situation. Easily the most talented running back in that backfield. I think you would even have to agree with that.
Yeah, I without a doubt, I believe that they're going to plug him in. Is he going to be a factor really as far as when it comes to running the ball? Is he going to bring you top tier rushing ability throughout the remainder of the year? Probably not. But I think it's we'll keep mentioning.
He's going to get 60 yards or 50 to 60 yards rushing. He's going to get some receptions there.
Sure. Yeah. The thing is he's going to be he's going to be a PPR asset there more than like. We saw it last year. He finished as kind of low end fringe RB2 last year, but it was really based upon what he did out of the backfield as a pass catcher. That's expected to be the case as he joins the Giants now. Like I mentioned,
and he does have he has a nose for the end zone too. I mean,
he does have a nose for the end zone.
Can find the end zone, whereas Gallman and Dion Lewis.
Well, if we see him on the field for 13, 12 games moving forward to finish out the year, and he stays healthy and finishes out the season. The outlook for him on an offense where he's going to get most of the looks and most of the touches, yeah, he's probably going to be a fringe RB2, high-end RB3 most cases. I think that you're going to see Dion Lewis kind of revert back to his role as the change of pace back and really kind of fall back in line to what he was doing with Saquon Barkley. Do you think as is the case, most of what the deeper leagues that we've done throughout the offseason, Devontae Freeman wasn't really available on the waiver wire this week in many of our leagues.
You may have had some teams get a little nervous and need to drop him, and you may see him out there. But leagues that I had him in that I kept, I didn't drop him. I think this would have probably been the week that if Saquon doesn't get hurt and they don't sign Devontae Freeman, I think you have seen some teams with the injuries to Raheem Mostert. To Tevin Coleman, this would have been the week that they would have probably dropped Devontae Freeman. Even though he was having these conversations, but it just got to that point where you just got so many injuries out there. You got to have somebody to put on your team.
Yeah, and then we keep looking with the other the other situations as well. You've got CMC going for a number of weeks. They put him on the IR. Now you have Mike Davis that's going to be heading that backfield. We saw that he was a factor kind of in that Christian McCaffrey type role to finish out that game last week. Catches coming out of the backfield. That seemed to be the MO for that offense. So how do you view Mike Davis over the course of the next, say, couple of months with Christian McCaffrey on the shelf? Is he going to be a guy that's going to give you consistent, that low end RB2 type numbers week in, week out, or is he going to be a matchup play for you?
He's definitely going to be more of a matchup play for me. That offense is not very good. Christian McCaffrey, look what he did this last week. He scored 2 touchdowns, but he was fighting for every yard. Mike Davis couldn't even make it in Chicago.
No,
and we needed.
But previously to that, he was a playing time vulture for the Seahawks, which was mind-numbing to see him on the field in a lot of situations. You could tell that he was not the most talented back in that backfield, but Pete Carroll kept trotting him out, which was odd to see. So now that he's back in a featured role, I'm kind of with you. I think it's going to be a matchup play. I think this week against the Chargers on the road, I think lines up for a quality matchup for him, not from a rushing perspective, but from a pass catching perspective.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. Like historically, granted, this is a different offense than what you had in Seattle, but historically, he hasn't caught balls. He's been a rusher, so that's what makes me a little nervous about that. But then again, Teddy checkdown is that's all he's going to do.
Teddy Two Gloves.
He's going to check it down. So you got to wonder if you're gonna get that coming from him. So I mean, I think he's definitely the kind of guy that is going to check it down. So maybe Mike is going to get some more receptions there, but definitely at least somebody. Whereas for me, Devontae Freeman is somebody that you can have for the rest of the year. Chris McCaffrey seems like the kind of guy who he can work back and be back in a short amount of time to where. Mike Davis is not going to have value the rest of the year. So who am I going to pick up over those two guys? I'm going Devontae Freeman all day long.
Yeah, I think, but you've got yourself in a situation too. Say you're a team that you've got CMC, but you're 0-2 now to start out, coming out of the gate. You've got to go after a guy like a Mike Davis to fill your roster spot and hopefully to kind of gain some traction over the next few weeks, try to pull your head above water, right?
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, too, I think there's another name out there that I would be targeting that, listened to the show. You've heard him, and I know you've had him ranked pretty high to where, hopefully folks should be out there and pick him up. And that's Joshua Kelly.
Yep.
Joshua Kelly, if he's still available out in your league, you got to go and go get him now. So he's getting a lot of carries in that offense, a lot of the percentages of snaps in there to where, you've got to pick him up. I mean, He and Devontae Freeman, I think, again, I would pick both of those guys up before I picked up Mike Davis. Even if you're 0-2, you've got to assume that your guys will be playing better.
Yep.
And I still like both of those guys. I would plug those two guys in, this in week 3, I would plug both of those guys in over Mike Davis.
Yeah, I do have Josh Kelly ranked above Mike Davis heading into the weekend. I think I've the last check when I updated rankings earlier. I think I've got Josh Kelly at 22 with that matchup going against the Carolina Panthers right now. And he's in my Woos and Boos article that will be coming out on rotoballer.com tomorrow morning as well. So be on the lookout for that. I'll have that coming out tomorrow morning, the Woos and Boos for week 3. And segue, that is what we're going to get into right now. Segue into our Woos and Boos for week 3. Of course, we're kind of bypassing the Jaguars-Dolphins game that is on the table right now. We're going to get into covering the week 3 slate and give you some of the players to watch for and some of our picks on these games as well. Before we get into that, do have a question we're going to throw out there real quick.
Oh, okay.
We got Car Show here on Twitter chiming in with his question. He has the running backs of Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, David Johnson, Antonio Gibson, Gaskin, and White. Best receivers are Devontae Parker and Shark. Should I move? Who should I move and who should I aim for? Obviously, he is stock full with the running backs here at the moment. Who do you think he should be trying to move? What's your idea here? I know you're a very, very big proponent of trades. You like to move players, freshen up your team, getting new guys on the roster. Looking at his current iteration of players, what would you try to do as that owner?
For me, I'm always taking a look at guys and trying to trade them while their value is the highest. So David Johnson, unfortunately, you missed out after week 1 to be able to trade him at a high value because he's going to have another tough matchup here again, this week. So, you kind of missed out on your window to be able to get a great player for him. Taylor and Jacobs, I think, are the two factor backs you got here. They're going to be getting, especially moving forward, they're going to be getting a good amount of the play. I think, too, it matters what your starting positions are. I'm just going to assume 2 running backs and you got 1 flex. So, look at all the guys you got left. Rookies always seem to be, for guys, even though that Antonio Gibson is starting to get a lot more of the share there in Washington, I think your best move is to wait to after this week and keep your fingers crossed any of Duke Johnson, David Johnson, Gibson, Gaskin, or White do something. and then try to move him to an RB needy team. I mean, you still need to be going after, you need to go find the owner that lost CMC or the Niners backs, and you need to go find some kind of wide receiver on that team because they're going to be desperate, depending on especially on who they got in their free agents. You're not going to be able to go after a Julio Jones unless you just got one of those guys that they don't know what the heck they're doing in there. But there's guys like, for me, I think Cooper Kupp has not exactly, been great. He had a good game this last week. He just didn't find the end zone. So I think that's a guy who you can easily go after and target. And AJ Green has been getting a lot of looks, not a lot of production, but he's been getting a lot of targets there in Cincinnati. So that's
eventually
somebody
that's going to click.
That's somebody I would absolutely target there. If you want to go at a low end, somebody that Brandon and I definitely both like is Bryan Edwards for the Raiders there.
And I would think at this point in time right now, like the asking price, you could probably shoot Gaskin for a Bryan Edwards. It depends on what you're after, I think, is what I'm looking here at. I mean, you've got two studs as your 1-2 punch here with Taylor and Jacobs. With Parker and Shark as they're kind of wide receiver 2 level type players on a weekly basis. So if you're wanting to shoot for the moon and go for a guy that an elite wide receiver 1 type of a play, I mean, you're gonna have to deal off one of Taylor or Jacobs.
We're going to assume it's a PPR league too. So if it's not a PPR league, our answers are even more that I definitely would not be trading off Taylor or Jacobs because those guys are going to get a lot of yards on the ground. So
yeah, exactly. So for me, the way I'm looking at it right now, I would probably, the way that he's kind of started out the season, I would probably be willing to move Taylor. Move Taylor for a guy. That's going to be the tricky thing. You might be able to move Taylor to buy low, like on a Julio Jones right now, who's somewhat injured. They're testy with a hamstring. He's underperformed. He's actually 3rd on the team in fantasy scoring at the moment, behind both Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage. So you might have an owner that would be willing to part for a flashy name in the lights like a Jonathan Taylor. So
or do like I did and trade Ronald Jones and get Kenny Galladay, who hadn't played a game here, but you get somebody that's desperate. And granted, this is before this last week, before Fournette really took the job. But I think you got to look at the rosters on guys in your league and figure out who's needy, who's going to be desperate, who can I not take advantage of, but what situation can I, use to most benefit myself? So.
Well, I mean, that's the biggest thing too is, look at how we've started out the first 2 weeks of the season. There has been injury on top of injury on top of injury. So play it out after this weekend, see how things unfold. There might be another injury that hits another team, and they're going to be even more desperate for a player. You never know how that's going to shake out. So, for me, play it out after the weekend, like what Nick said here. If you've got an Antonio Gibson that has a great week, maybe David Johnson doesn't put up the yardage in that matchup against Pittsburgh, but sneaks into the end zone or something. Fantasy managers are always going to look at touchdowns over the yardage, and that's going to
every
creep in their
time.
mind. And that's what you'll use to lure in someone, maybe pull a gotcha on somebody, and swing David Johnson for a fairly good price, if he has a decent play. But I'm not expecting it, but you can always hope for that in that matchup. So we'll move into the game previews right now. We'll get back to questions here and there as they roll in, but we'll start off with Sunday's slate here. You're going to go with Las Vegas at the New England Patriots.
We dropped some. Yeah, that was a little preview there.
Yeah, that is a very big preview. So you've got the Patriots that are giving up 5.5 in this game with the over/under at 47.5. Give me your picks here on the game and your top player to watch for in this matchup.
Yeah, I think we're going to go the over, and I think the Pats are going to win, but Raiders are covering on this one. So we're going Raiders.
Kool-Aid.
We're going – well, again, I think it's going to be about a 3 or 4 point game. I think the Pats are going to win, but Raiders are covering this thing. That offense is clicking right now. Granted, the Pats have a really good defense, and Cam Newton's doing well, but I think they're going to keep it close. So my woo from this game is definitely going to be Cam Newton. Cam It's so
You
weird.
have to
It's
go
so
with
weird to
him.
say, man. It's so weird to say, but
Yeah.
I mean, just what he's bringing and the groove that Belichick has got him in, he's going to be looking good. Now, the tough thing is, and I think they'll both play, but N'Keal Harry and Edelman are both questionable coming in, at least right now. But you look at the running back situation, real quick, and we'll go off on this quick tangent just to help you out on some things. Sony Michel hasn't looked great, and you also got to think that Cam Newton, especially with his goal line carries, is going to be taking some points away from the running back situation. So if he's out there, here's a name you could go after. And Brandon and I talked him up, early part of the year, but Damian Harris could very well be getting, this job, moving forward and be a very valuable contributor the last half of the year. So if he's available in your league, if you got the spots to be able to stash somebody like that, definitely a good move that you want to do.
Yeah, I'm fully in agreement with the Cam Newton pick as a woo in this matchup here. I'm actually going to say the Patriots cover this game and hit the over. I think it's going to be a touchdown win, at least for the Patriots here. I don't think you're going to see the same Raiders team that we saw on Monday night against a somewhat underperforming New Orleans Saints team, and that was on both sides of the ball, defense and offense. So Patriots win easily in this matchup. Yes, Cam Newton is the biggest woo in this matchup for me. But if you want a kind of a sneaky and under the radar type play in this matchup, N'Keal Harry.
You stole it from me.
I think that's going to be the guy to watch for here. He had quietly 8 catches in week 2. Was starting to get a little bit of looks. He's starting to kind of get that connection with Cam Newton. So if you're in a needy spot and you've got guys out like a Michael Thomas, you got guys out like Courtland Sutton, who's now gone for the year, N'Keal Harry's a guy you can slide into that wide receiver 3 spot in that game this week. It's a plus matchup for them, and I think he can take advantage of it.
Absolutely. I even started N'Keal Harry in some leagues this last week. I almost had to. He was just one of those guys in the situation that, I thought he could probably sneak in 3 or 4 catches and maybe, 50 yards and find the end zone there. He didn't find the end zone, but the number of catches definitely leads, very positively to his use throughout the year. But, I mean, Edelman was somebody – I mean, this was, I think, one of those underrated situations that, you look back to what Cam Newton did last year when he was in Carolina. Granted, he didn't win a lot of games, but he threw the ball around a lot. And I think you see it, right now with some of those receivers that they have in Carolina. Like, the offense is good. You need the right quarterback to be able to do some things in it. So, yeah, no, I agree with N'Keal Harry. On the opposite side of the ball, I would say my boo probably for this next week is probably going to be Darren Waller. He's hampered a little bit, out there as well. He doesn't necessarily have the world's greatest matchup against that secondary there. So, I think this is the week you're going to see guys like Edwards come in and do some things, and it feels a little bit more like a Renfrow week as well. So.
Yeah, playing from behind, there's going to be a lot of passes. It might inadvertently hurt Josh Jacobs' potential in this matchup too, because they're going to kind of game script fall behind. So they're not going to be able to run that ball 20 to 25 times, which is what you usually want out of Josh Jacobs to really fully reach his potential week in and week out. So, yeah, I kind of agree there. We'll move on to the next game. You got Los Angeles Rams visiting the Buffalo Bills. Bills giving up 2 points at home with the over-under of 47. Your pick and your woo of this game here.
Yeah, we're going to go the over in this one, and the Bills covering at home. Bills are tough at home. You got a West Coast team coming, all the way up north there. I think you're going to have some problems, and I mean, not to mention, Josh Allen is playing out of his mind right now. Where does that come from? He barely ever had a 300-yard game, and he has a 400-yarder this last week.
Well, expect for that
come from.
Expect for that to change, because this is not your Miami Dolphins or the New York Jets coming to town with the Los Angeles Rams in that defense. So that
is very true.
That will change this week.
Absolutely. So, so I would say probably it's really tough to call a woo on this one, but I think just simply with the fact of Ramsey's probably going to be on Diggs, I think you got to call John Brown, at least on the Bills, is probably my biggest woo for them. And then, on the Rams side of the ball, I mean, you got some injuries at the running back spot. I mean, Malcolm Brown doesn't look like he's going to play. Cam Akers might not play and has been hampered too. So Darrell Henderson, I think is somebody too that I think it's just literally a usage factor. Somebody's getting ready to get it. Wide open Chris Conley, and he missed him. Good Lord. Where's Laviska Shenault? Good golly, Bill. What the hell?
Great route run, Bo.
Yeah, horrible throw by Mitch. You had plenty of time there. So, no, I think Darrell Henderson is probably the guy, there. I mean, who's Tre'Davious White going to cover? Is he going to –
Tre'Davious White, they've already came out. The Bills, the beat writers have already come out and said that he's going to shadow Stephon Diggs in this matchup. So, I'm with you there. Yeah, it's going to be
Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, boo for Stephon Diggs this week.
No, Tre'Davious White.
No.
Okay. No. I know we're talking about Ramsey. My bad.
Yeah, we're talking about Ramsey, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, Tre'Davious White's going to shadow Robert Woods, and that's a guy that I've talked about a lot on Twitter today. Robert Woods will be going down the
lane. Cooper Kupp
should be coming up a little bit.
Kupp going up.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey, yes, he will be on Stephon Diggs, opening the door for John Brown, like you mentioned. Yes, I agree with that.
Absolutely. So that is definitely my woo boo. I mean, it's tough. It really is. I think Josh Allen's going to have a good week. I think you're going to see him run the ball a little bit. So he's going to have an okay week. Obviously not as good as last week, but I think you got to boo the Bills running back situation here. And the two receivers that we mentioned, obviously Diggs, Woods, and the Bills running back. Bills running back only because you don't know where the heck they're going to go. They're kind of splitting carries here.
That's one to monitor.
It's tough. It is one to monitor.
That's one of
those guys get hurt
this week. Yeah, because that's the thing. Zach Moss is nursing a little bit of a toe injury. Could be limited in this game, which is going to Devin Singletary in this matchup. It's still a tough matchup against that front seven of the Los Angeles Rams, but I think the usage is going to go up, which gives him more of a flexibility to pop into your flex for this week in that matchup based on usage. But yeah, for me, I mean, I agree with you on the woo for John Brown. I do like that play. He's a guy that, based on options that are available to you, should be a wide receiver 3 by the end of this weekend. But going on to the other side of the ball, I've not been the big fan of Cooper Kupp, as we all know. But like I mentioned just previously, Robert Woods is going to be shadowed in this matchup, in a very tough matchup. For me, that opens the door more for Tyler Higbee. We see him. He's coming off the 3-touchdown game. I think that's just going to open the door more for Tyler Higbee to have a rather good game in this matchup, which could be one that's going to sneakily turn into a back and forth affair. So that's going to be one to watch for there. We have another question popped in real quick. We'll get to it real fast. Juan Delgado here says he has Hunt, OBJ, Deshaun, Gage, Slayton, Antonio Gibson. He needs to start 2 of these in a full point PPR.
Let's see. Well, I'm not starting Deshaun. I'm not starting Gage. So we got, let's see. So, I mean, OBJ's got a nice matchup there. Hunt for me is just kind of 50-50. Slayton initially just jumped out at me, especially with Sterling Shepard out.
Yep.
And that team going to be down. Again, the Bears don't give up a ton of deep stuff, but they give a lot of stuff up over the middle. Full point PPR. I am probably, for myself, it's tough with Gibson too, because I think he's going to get some action. My choice is going to be between Odell. Odell is going to be my absolute starter on this. And the question I think then is Gibson or Slayton. It's a tough call. I think in the end, I would probably. Ooh, wow! Hold on, I said Bears. Sorry, I'm still thinking about week 2 here against the Niners. About the same kind of a thing. I'm going to go Gibson and OBJ. That's where I would go.
Yeah, I'm going to start Gibson for sure. I mean, if you're looking at these two guys in a flex position, most often than not, you're going to give the nod to the running back. So for me, that makes Gibson one to start for sure. On the other spot, I'm going to lean Hunt right now based on usage. He's going to be the guy that's going to be catching passes out of the backfield, but you could really go either way between him or OBJ. But with this being a flex position, you have clearly guys that you can wait until Sunday to watch out for. This would all be null and void if Julio Jones is out in this matchup, and Russell Gage would be the guy that I would slip into that second flex position based on the matchup. Russell Gage, I think, is going to be a guy that easily is going to outperform all the others on this list based on the game script and everything. You're going to see a lot of passes going back and forth in that matchup between the Bears and the Falcons. So yeah, that's going to be the one to monitor for the weekend. It's going to be Julio Jones and his availability. If he doesn't go with Gage for me. If Julio Jones is in, then for me, I'm going to probably right now I'm going to lean OBJ. Now that I'm thinking about it,
I think OBJ is going to be a big DFS guy for me this week. I think he's going to be. I haven't seen the numbers come out, but this is the week. I mean, that offense hasn't really been able to pass the ball that much for some of the matches they have. I have a feeling this is going to be a throwing kind of a week for Big Daddy Bakes.
Yeah, just he's riding a little bit of momentum coming into this game too. So ride the hot hand. Hopefully, what we saw last week between Beckham and Mayfield. Hopefully, that's a sign of things to come. So we'll see how that plays out. So we'll get back into the games here real quick. Got Houston Texans going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, one that we've kind of previously mentioned.
Houston.
We've got Pittsburgh giving up 4 points as the home favorite with the over-under of 45. Pick here, Woo in this game.
Yeah, I am. I think this is going to be a little closer than people think. I'm actually going to go the under on this one. It's kind of shocking that I would say that, especially the Steelers at home, but I'm going to go the under, and the Steelers definitely cover. It's going to be I feel like it's going to be like a 28-14 kind of a game there. So, but woos in this one, I think Big Ben and James Conner are going to be big woos for me on this game. I think really for the Texans, obviously we talked about it and kind of previewed it a little bit earlier. But David Johnson is definitely not a woo for me this week. So
not at all.
I think you got to figure out too. You got a tough Steeler defense on there. As far as the secondary goes, a lot of it depends on whether Will Fuller will play or not. It looks like he will. He's not on the injury report. So
yep.
I actually kind of like Brandon Cooks a little bit. Is probably the one guy that I do like on the Texans side. So woo to those guys. Yeah, man, it's I don't know too many times I would bench Deshaun Watson, but this may be one of those.
One of those.
It's gonna be tough, dude. I mean, he's gonna be running for his life. He's gonna have a tough matchup here. So I would, if it were me, obviously depending on your backup there, I might bench Deshaun Watson.
I'm actually vehemently telling people to bench Deshaun Watson this week. So for me, I'm going to take Pittsburgh to cover. I'm going to say in the over on this one as well. I think I'm looking at like a 30-17 type game here. So just barely covering the over. But for me, yeah, Deshaun Watson easily is the biggest boo for me in this matchup. He's a guy that I think performs. He's third worst in the league against opposing defenses when they blitz, and Pittsburgh blitzes more than any other defense in the National Football League.
In the matchup of the Watt brothers too.
Yeah, and it's so for me, I think that's going to be a situation we've seen Deshaun struggle with that offensive line in front of him. He's going to be running for his life for most of the game, so I think it's going to inadvertently affect the entire Texans offense. Well, I'm not sure that we're going to see them really truly get it going for a number of weeks right now. So for me, yes, if you have another option back behind Watson, or if there's a guy that's available on the waiver wire that you can pick up and play this week, Mitchell Trubisky.
We've talked about him both weeks here.
Yeah.
Hopefully you've listened.
I
picked him up and started him against ahead of Tom Brady this last.
He is easily a guy that I would play ahead of Deshaun Watson this week. And I mentioned it on a video that I did with Scott Engel on a Rotoballer YouTube video just last night. So Mitchell Trubisky is a guy I would easily pop in your lineup over Deshaun Watson. But as far as woos go, Pittsburgh, Deontay Johnson. I'm expecting a big game from Deontay Johnson. Hopefully you're eventually going to come over to that mode of thinking between he and James Washington. It's the Deontay's looking almost like he's the number one receiver on that offense as after 2 weeks right now.
Yeah. To the guy that earlier asked about who to trade for Juju.
That's definitely another buy low candidate for sure. But
absolutely. And I tell you what, though, real quick for everybody that's listening out there, right now this is the buy low week. If somebody has sucked it up the first couple of weeks and they were a draft pick in the first 5 or 6 rounds, and granted have not just lost their job, this is the week to go trade for them, because usually week 3 is the week that they rebound and get back going there. So trade for them now while you can.
Yeah, I will agree with that one there. So we'll move on to the next game real quick, jumping in to the San Francisco 49ers visiting the New York Giants. San Francisco, oddly enough, with the injuries on their team, are giving up 3.5 points in this game with the over-under at 41.5. It seems odd to me that the 49ers, that are decimated by injuries back in MetLife Stadium, are a road favorite in this matchup. So I'm taking the Giants to cover and win outright. That's without a doubt. And I'm going to say we're going to hit that over on that 41.5. What say you?
Same. No, 100%. Yeah, I have no idea how the Niners. Now, if Jimmy Grapes is coming in and playing, that's a little bit of a different story. But it looks like Nick Mullins is going to be going here. I can't fathom how they could be playing Jimmy Garoppolo this week, especially with that injury. So
yeah, that's the thing too. Like the 49ers have almost outwardly said that they're going to kind of monitor their players in this matchup because of the fear of the turf there at MetLife Stadium. So I would expect to see Nick Mullins under center. Those of you that have George Kittle, don't expect for him to play. I think they're going to keep him out. I've had a lot of questions.
If not, they should.
Yeah, they should. I've had a lot of questions today on Twitter about Jerick McKinnon and would I start him over certain individuals. I'm scared to play Jerick McKinnon right now. They've even outwardly said that Jeff Wilson's probably going to carry most of the load as far as the running back touches are concerned in this matchup this week. So if he's on your waiver wire and was not picked up just yesterday on the waiver wires, go grab him. He's worth a play as a flex player this week, I think, too. I think he's going to get the touches to warrant that. But outside of that, the woos in this game, you mentioned Slayton. I think he's a guy to watch for.
I think it's more for me. I think it's going to be a Golden Tate kind of a week here. So that's probably my biggest woo, right along with Evan Ingram. I think those two guys are going to do well. I mean, I think the passing game for the Giants is going to be where it's at. Again, I think you're going to. These running backs are more running backs in name. They're more receiving backs because I don't think you really have one of these guys that's going to be, really good running the ball. I think it could be Devontae Freeman, but again, I think they're going to mix him in at least week 1 here. So, really a lot of the passing offense for the Giants is going to be, who I think we're going to woo here. I'm different than you. I think Jeff Wilson might be the primary running back. But I think especially in PPR leagues, Jerick McKinnon is going to get some dump offs there. Nick Mullins is going to dump the ball off. Nick Mullins likes the tight ends too. And Jordan Reed, dude, is this 2015? What the hell?
Yeah.
Wow. If you listen to the Sunday pod last week, you heard us talk about Jordan Reed, and I had him in every league outside of one. Yep. Tyler Higbee going in there. So, But I think Jordan Reed would definitely be a great play and a great pickup again if George Kittle is going to miss, which I hope as a George Kittle owner in a couple leagues, I hope he does miss for the season because I don't think this is going to be a very good matchup for him anyway. So,
no, yeah, I agree. For me, I'm kind of down on the 49ers offense in general in this game, so I could probably boo the entire squad. I just don't see that they're going to provide much thump when it comes to fantasy potential in this game here. Mm-hmm. But before we move on to the next game, we got another question to pop in. Garrett W. here has 2 quarterbacks. The both underperforming players here, Drew Brees, Carson Wentz. Should he drop someone, or do you want to hold on to both of these players? Both off to very inauspicious starts in fantasy scoring. I did some Drew Brees coverage on my Woos and Boos article that I mentioned that will be out tomorrow. Brees currently quarterback 24 in fantasy scoring at the moment. What would you do in that situation? You're a Carson Wentz owner, I know, in certain leagues. I'm a Drew Brees owner in one league. If you have both of them, what are you doing?
Dude, it's a rough situation right now. Brees with Michael Thomas is a completely different quarterback.
Yes.
Now, and you got to look at Carson Wentz too. Wentz is coming into a much better matchup this week against the Bengals than he's had against the Rams in that pass defense. But it's been tough with him with that O line. So I would probably hold and or see who you could pick up out there as a number 3, like a Mitch Trubisky, to kind of get you through some of these lean weeks that you're having there. He's a good play. Obviously, Gardner Minshew, I think, is a good guy to be able to throw and pick up as a number 3 quarterback. I think, again, a lot of it really depends on your league. If you're in a 10-man league, you probably got some of these guys out there. If it's a 12-man league and you're grasping at straws, it might be time to trade Breeze off with another one of your skill guys and go find somebody out there like a Big Ben, who is probably a team's backup out there, and try to trade for him. That's probably what I would do.
I'll throw this name out there at you. Say you're in a 12-team league. Would you drop either one of these 2 quarterbacks for Justin Herbert?
No. I don't think you can. I don't think you should be dropping guys like this. That's way. I think it's way too premature. If you're in a 12-man league, dropping a quarterback like this,
Cutting bait too early, you say?
I think you're cutting bait a little too early. I think is Justin Herbert somebody to pick up in that situation? Absolutely. I think you need to drop somebody on the lower end of your bench to be able to do it. Again, and or combine a middle tier guy that's going to help out a guy who's pretty heavy at quarterback, can combine a Drew Brees and a running back or wide receiver to a team that needs it. For again, a Big Ben, who is probably, I know on a lot of my teams, I mentioned Deshaun Watson earlier. He's my backup in my Deshaun Watson team. I got him late. I had a feeling he was going to do some. He is. So that's somebody. If it were me, that's somebody who I would be going after. Find the team that's got a couple good quarterbacks right now. Find the team that's got Josh Allen sitting there. I'm going to play him the rest of the year. Who does he have as his backup? That's what I'm going out and trying to trade for with those guys. Do not drop them. You're going to lose way too much value doing that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think after 2 weeks, even though they've been very, very underperforming type players, I think there's a little bit of a break over the horizon. Michael Thomas will come back. Breeze's numbers will start to level out and flatten out. And same with
Wentz may get Alshon Jeffrey back this week.
Yeah, so. Jeffrey might be coming back, but the biggest thing with him is going to be the offensive line getting healthy. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see that a little bit. Yes, he lost Jalen Reagor, but I believe that's offset with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert and what they do in that 12 personnel. So there's going to be better days ahead for both of those two. So sure, I would definitely hold on to both and see how the next couple of weeks break down as well. There's probably chances you like what Nick said himself. You can possibly move those players for a package deal. Try to improve your situation at the quarterback. So that's what we would do there. We'll keep going with the games here. Tennessee Titans at the Minnesota Vikings. You have the Titans as the road favorite with 2.5. Over under at 49.5 in this game. Where are we leaning and what are we looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of points with the Vikings offense the way it's going right now. So I'm going to go the under, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm definitely going to go ahead and agree that the Titans are going to take this on the road here. Man, Derrick Henry, what the hell, man? He's had some good matchups. He's had, I think I saw 12 carries in the red zone, no touchdowns.
None. No,
they're giving him the ball there. He just can't get boxes. There. So, absolutely.
Boxes all day long so far.
Teams you can tell are absolutely out there to stop Derrick Henry. Although, I don't think that's going to matter this week. So, woo on Derrick Henry.
For me, I'm going to go Titans as well. I don't know if we're going to hit that over under in this matchup here. I think it's going to be a little bit more low scoring in the low 40s probably. For me, Corey Davis. A.J. Brown trending down again, probably going to be out in this matchup. We've seen Corey Davis, 10 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown over the first 2 weeks. Yes, it came down a little bit yardage-wise last week, but he found the end zone with A.J. Brown out. I think you're going to see that same thing this week. We're going to probably see about a 5-catch, 70 to 80-yard type game for Corey Davis, with another trip to the end zone is the way I'm looking at things right now. So for me, I'm wooing Corey Davis in this matchup. For me, as far as a boo in this matchup, oh, gosh. I'm I'm probably going to boo Kirk Cousins in this matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm agreeing. I mean, it's tough to boo a lot of this matchup. It's a pretty juicy matchup on both sides of the ball.
Correct.
Cousins are probably going to get 1 or 2 touchdowns, but let's face it, man, that's not really good numbers for fantasy purposes. So I think another woo as well. I think it's going to be a Dalvin Cook kind of a week, both getting some catches and on the ground as well. Titans do have a good defense, but I think this is just a matchup, especially at home, that he's going to do quite nicely in.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's how we'll kind of view that one. Continuing on here, the Washington football team heading to Cleveland to play the Browns. Browns giving up 7 at home here with over under a 45. We've kind of slightly touched on this game somewhat so far. What's your pick? What's your woo here?
Push.
Push.
I think the line's 6.5 on ESPN. So if that's the case, if you're seeing 6.5 out there, I think the Browns is the way to go on this one. I think they're going to have a nice little 7-point win, and I think we're going to go the over in this matchup here.
I think I actually took Washington my picks to cover that spread. Wow. And over to hit in this one too. I think you're going to see a little bit of back and forth between these two. It's going to be another situation where Cleveland's probably going to get out ahead and then start running the ball, and then Dwayne Haskins and that passing attack is going to have to catch up to that. So what's your woo here and a boo before we move on?
I mean, we mentioned it a little bit, but I think this is a week for OBJ, I think, to really break out. This just lines up for me like a 2-touchdown kind of a week for Odell. So I think he's going to have a really nice week there. It's kind of weird. The guy was asking earlier about Hunt. I don't think Chubb is necessarily going to have a great matchup. I just feel like this is going to be a Baker Mayfield chucking the ball all around the field kind of a game. So that's definitely going to be my woos is Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham. I'm going to boo. I mean, I'm still going to start him, but I'm probably going to boo. Probably going to boo Nick Chubb. And then we talked about it earlier. I think Gibson is going to have a really nice week as well. Probably Terry McLaurin. You got a lot of nice matchups really here on this.
All right. So for me, the woo, I'm actually going to go the opposite of you. I think I'm going to woo Nick Chubb in this matchup. I think we saw last week their recipe for victory is going to be is they're going to try to run the hell out of the ball. And I think that they're going to try to capitalize on that with Nick Chubb in this matchup. So a heavy dose of Nick Chubb means plenty of opportunities to score, which gives me a lot of Nick Chubb optimism in this matchup here. For me, the boo in this matchup, and a guy that I've dropped down in my rankings so far, is going to be old Terry McLaurin himself being locked up in shadow coverage with Denzel Ward, who did a fantastic job of shutting down A.J. Green just a week ago. I think you're going to see somewhat similar circumstances here. The guy to watch for as far as the passing attack goes in this matchup is going to be Steve Sims. Cleveland has struggled somewhat against opposing slot receivers. So for me, Sims is a guy that if we keep talking about it, injuries have plagued you. Sims is a guy you can kind of sneak in as that low end wide receiver 3. He's probably on your waiver wire in 10-team leagues, especially. Go out, grab him, pick him up. He should be a sneaky play this week in that matchup. Is how I'm looking at that one there. Going ahead, now we're going to Cincinnati and Philadelphia. The Eagles giving up 4.5 points as the road favorite with the over-under of 47 as we see James Robinson get into the end zone for the second time tonight. Who do you got?
He's down short, by the way.
Oh, was he? I just happened to look up.
They called touchdown, but I saw something go down before the goal.
I'm not so sure on that replay the way I'm looking at it. But anyways.
You'll see the V here in a sec. You're on a little bit of a delay there. So,
Cincinnati, Philadelphia, pick and woo here.
See, elbow down right there. Yeah, here, you'll see it in a sec. So we're gonna go over and Cincinnati covering at home on this matchup here. So wooing pretty much everybody. I don't know necessarily who I'm gonna boo in this matchup. I mean, all the matchups are so juicy. The defenses aren't necessarily doing much of anything to stop the other. Well, I guess they gave it to them. The defenses aren't necessarily doing much to stop each other. So play them if you got them.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat there. I'm hoping against hope that this is going to be our Joe Mixon week here. I think things are looking positive for him. We're going to probably see Joe Mixon get an increase in touches in this game, which should, coming off of Joe Burrow's 61 throwing attempt game last week in Cleveland, they're going to want to run the ball. I think Joe Mixon's a guy that I'm going to want in my lineups because I think the opportunities are going to be there for him. As far as a boo in these matchups here, I mean,
who could you boo? I mean, there's not necessarily just a matchup. I'm like, ew.
Well, but the thing is just the way that he's performed, and we talked about it just a few minutes ago with the quarterback question. Until I see good out of Carson Wentz, I'm going to boo Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I think this is the week he comes back, though. I really
you got it, and then you can get me back on board. That's how I've got. I've got Wentz as a guy that's outside my top 20 in this matchup.
Wow.
For the weekend. I'm not a believer. I don't think he's going to be able to get it done. So that's what we're looking at there. Well, now we're going to switch to the hometown showdown for young Nick Heffley here. His Bears coming to town.
I should be going to this game, man.
He could go to the game, but COVID disallows it. At the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons giving up 3.5 in this game with the over-under of 47. What are we looking at here and your woo of the game?
Yeah, this is the week it ends for the Bears. We're going the Falcons at home. I don't think they're going to be able to stop the offense there if Julio Jones plays. If he does play, I think that's
question mark.
Yeah,
question mark.
Question mark.
Will the Atlanta Falcons jump on an onside kick in this ball game if the opportunity presents itself?
Probably.
Yeah. Way to jump on that ball, fellas.
We can't touch it. Get away from it.
We're not supposed to touch it 10 yards. It's got to go 10 yards before we touch it, you dumbasses. No, you got to get on the ball. Yeah, thank you. I will take that victory.
You're welcome. No, I mean, I think, the Bears defense has been pretty good so far, but I know the leagues that I have them in, I don't think this is a week to be able to play him. Matt Ryan is playing out of his mind right now. Thank goodness, because in the leagues I have, I have absolutely needed him. So another situation too. I think play him if you got him. I think so. I'm wooing pretty much everybody in this matchup, minus 2 people. Todd Gurley is not in for a good week. I don't think the Bears rush defense is fairly stout.
I'll let you in on a secret that you probably don't know.
Okay.
You and myself have as many broken tackles in the NFL in 2020 as Todd Gurley.
Ooh, I'm doing something in life.
It's exactly the case. We are excelling at avoided tackle rate here on the Woo Fantasy Podcast.
Jesus.
So
crazy.
Todd
Gurley,
for a guy that a lot of people were thinking things that they were expecting big things. Yeah, he's getting touched and going down. So yeah, I agree there.
It's getting touches. The other guy, unfortunately, that I'm going to have to boo. The only guy on the offense for the Falcons I think I'm going to boo is actually Hayden Hurst. I don't necessarily think he's going to have. Yeah, exactly. I don't see him having a good week this week.
Oh man! Oh gosh!
I know that hurts your heart.
It really does. So for me, in this game, I'm going to continue to woo Calvin Ridley because the man's been on fire. Continue to ride that hot hand. That man is performing at an alarming rate to start this season, and I don't think it changes against that Chicago secondary. No matter what cornerback's playing against him, I think the Falcons are going to move the ball at will. So you're absolutely wooing and playing Calvin Ridley this week for sure. Booing for me this week, I'm going to boo until we see something. Tariq Cohen. The Bears decided to give this man an extension last week and then proceed to give him 6 touches for the entire game. Great coaching decision there, guys. I don't know what the thought process was there, but question on that real quick before we move on to the next game. Anthony Miller targeted once last week, no catches. What are we?
Should have had a touchdown still, but yeah.
What are we expecting this week? And are we starting to see the ascension of Darnell Mooney and the descension of an Anthony Miller? How is that rotation going for your Bears?
Good question, dude. I don't think anybody knows. Nobody knows what the hell Matt Nagy is doing. Other than you're going to see Montgomery and Allen Robinson out there. Outside of that, I don't know what the hell we're doing.
No.
So
the matchup is great.
The matchup's great. I mean, if I have, it's a tough start, but with the no catches last week, 0 points out of Wu Miller, it's tough to play him this week. But if the matchup's there, man, depending on who else I got, I may have to. I've got a league that I had Cortland Sutton, and I'm kind of hurting at wide receiver. I've got Mike Williams. So who am I going to start, Mike Williams or Anthony Miller? Anthony Miller's got the juicier matchup this week. I think, it's one of those things too. We talked about it, and I definitely am on it. Regression to the mean.
Yeah.
Tyler Higbee had 3 touchdowns last week. Guess what? He ain't going to have that again this week. So, you get the guy who in Anthony Miller who didn't have a catch. Guess what Mr. Trubisky's probably going to do? He's probably going to force the ball a little bit to him because he realized, man, I didn't get the ball to Miller.
Yeah, that's going to be the hope. We can hope that this is kind of a flip more to a positive game script for Anthony Miller. They're going to be playing from behind for the entire game. That's why I am heavy on Mitchell Trubisky this week, because I think that it's going to be another multi-touchdown game for him. He's not been looking good as far in terms of passing yardage, but he's getting you the scores. And I think that's going to continue here in this game. So, yeah, I like Mitchell Trubisky. That's a guy I keep mentioning. I think he's a definite plug and play, an easy guy to pop into your DFS lineups as well this weekend too. Helps you build a better lineup with a cheap quarterback like that. So now we're going to move on to the next game. We're going to the later games, the afternoon games. New York Jets at the Indianapolis Colts. Colts laying 11.5 currently with an over-under of 44.
That's it?
Yikes.
I'm going to say the Colts are going to take this. But even at 44 points, I'm going the under here. The Colts D has been pretty stinking good. And I don't – oh, wow. Brandon's having bad flashbacks here.
Oh, yes. Nice catch to yourself. 1 point for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Brandon lost a playoff game on – tell the story, B.
I did lose a fantasy game one time. To a Brad Johnson deflected pass to himself at the goal line for a touchdown, double points, 2 touchdowns for Brad Johnson. I lost on that play, yes.
It always reminds me of that every time I see that. I always love to remind you of that. No, Colts D has been looking amazing. The Jets are starting retread receivers off the street here.
Yeah.
And not to mention, I still don't know who the hell the running back is. So
Frank Gore's going to start. And he got a decent run last week.
He had a decent week, but he's going to struggle against this Colts D, I think. So
he will. Yeah. You're going to boo that entire New York Jets team. I mean, that's just the way you're going to have to do it.
I don't know if there's anybody to start out there, dude. I really don't.
There's not.
I have no idea. I have no idea who I would start.
For me, the only play in this game worth a flip is going to be Jonathan Taylor.
I think though too. I think this is. I think this is the week that we see T.Y. Hilton show up, and then whoever too. I think the other play too. The other woo that I'm going to have is whoever is starting at tight end. Mo Alley Cox over 100 yards last week with Jack Doyle.
Yeah, Doyle's going to be out again. It looks like.
So start Mo Alley Cox.
Yep. For me, no, I'm not buying in on T.Y. Hilton right now. He's in my booze column in the Roto Baller article out tomorrow. Only 7 catches to begin the year. Just not really getting a look down the field. His average depth of target is probably at a career low, I believe, right now as well. That offense is kind of keeping things close to the chest, and that's what Phillip Rivers tends to do a lot of times. So
yeah. Well, I think, to the guy earlier that was asking about, guys to be able to trade for, I think T.Y. Hilton's a prime candidate. I think he's not done well the first 2 weeks of the year. I think that's a guy who, unfortunately, I think you're sleeping on too much. I think he's a guy who could come out here and Phillip Rivers could force feed the man the ball here this week, especially with Paris Campbell done for the year too, speaking about another injury there. So I think
done for the year. I think he might be a guy that can come back a little later on in the season.
Has he? Okay. All right. Yeah. I thought I saw that he was out for the whole year. So, okay.
Yeah, no, I think he's just out indefinitely on the IR.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, with his injury, that opens the door for Michael Pittman. Are you a guy that has a little bit of optimism about Michael Pittman over the course of the next few weeks?
More than at this time last week, that's for sure. But I mean, it's just I look at those two guys like your Keenan Allen and Mike Williams that you had. Pittman's a taller guy. T.Y. Hilton's a smaller. He's going to catch the balls over the middle, but hopefully some deep balls too. But it's just been one of those situations where Philip Rivers is just dumping and playing it close to the line and everything like he always freaking does. So this is a week that I think the whole Indy offense is going to be firing on all cylinders. So
Jonathan Taylor, is he in pretty much all of your DFS lineups this weekend? Price versus value.
I think he almost has to be. I think he's going to be a guy that is going to do really well. Again, I haven't seen the FanDuel numbers out there and who's going to be doing what.
Ownership percentage.
Yeah, well, and not necessarily ownership percentage, but where is he valued, and am I finding value there? So I think he's definitely going to get a score. The big question is, can he get 2 scores? Can he get 100 yards? I think he can, but especially if he can get that second touchdown, he's going to blow the value out of the water that he has. Because something tells me, again, I haven't seen the values, but especially with some of these guys hurt, I'd imagine he'd be top 5 to 6 or so at running back.
Jonathan Taylor right now, FanDuel salary this weekend, 6,700. Projected.
That's pretty cheap still.
Projected rostered percentage on FanDuel, 17.35%. Has him 7th or 6th overall highest rostered player on FanDuel right now.
Yeah, that's about where I would figure he would be. I figured he'd be closer to 10 without some of these injuries. So yeah, I mean that's right about where I think 6,700 is not a lot. I mean you're seeing a lot of these better running backs going in the $8,000 range.
A little bit in value.
He's starting to rise up.
He was 5,700 last week. Mm-hmm. We're seeing a jump to about 1,000 this week. So so he's starting to price correct himself, taking over that job.
Yeah, so I think this is one of the last weeks you're going to catch any kind of value on Jonathan Taylor there. JTT, pick him up.
Yes. So going on to the next game here, we're going to have Detroit Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals giving up 6 points at home with the over-under at 55.5 in this game. Expected shootout here. How do you pick this game and your biggest woo in this matchup?
Yeah, I'm. It's one of those games you're like, why the heck is it so many points? And then you're like, wait a minute, Vegas guys know what the hell they're talking about. So I'm going to go over in this one, and Arizona is going to be covering. So my biggest woo, he's been close a couple times, but he hasn't necessarily had a great first 2 weeks. But I think Kenyon Drake is going to have a really nice game here in this one. So that's probably going to be my biggest woo. It's tough. We were talking about him earlier. Kenny Galladay comes in and gets matched up right against Patrick Peterson right off the bat here in week 3. If he does make it back healthy, which he is trending in that direction. So, that would probably be, a boo for me is the receiving options for the Lions. I think you're probably going to see, the wide receiving options. I think this could be a weekend that Hockenson comes in and does really well along with that run game. But yeah, the wide receiver option again. I think these guys are going to get some touchdowns. Your Galladay and your Marvin Jones, I think, could reach the end zone, but I think their yardage totals is going to be pretty bad here. So, what say you?
I'm kind of leaning that way myself. I'm kind of agreeing with the Arizona covering and the over to hit here as well. I think the most obvious woo in this matchup is DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's second in FanDuel roster percentage headed into the weekend. The matchup itself is just, you can't ignore it.
And obviously Kyler Murray goes without saying too.
Also, yes, I like the Kenyon Drake pool. I agree with you there. I think this is going to be the week that he finally kind of wakes up and comes out. But for me, booing, I'm going to boo pretty much the entire Detroit Lions running back situation. I don't want any part of it. It just seems like they keep mixing guys in and out, and nobody's performing, nobody's separating. DeAndre Swift, they want him to be the guy. He's just not performed well to begin the season. So for me, avoid that whole entire situation. And that is how
it seems just like a spread around offense. I mean, no guy's going to be worthy of starting in a fantasy league kind of a thing. 2 catches, 10 yards, and a touchdown. That's not going to do you any good.
Not at all. So then we'll go into Tampa Bay at Denver, and you have Tampa Bay getting a 5.5 cushion with the over-under of 43. How are we looking at this matchup here in your woo on this one? And we'll kind of start to speed it up a little bit as we try to wrap up this pod here on Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say Denver's going to cover in this one. It's kind of weird that I'm going to say that with some of the guys that they have trotting out with Locke out for a couple weeks here, and you got Jeff Driscoll. But it's tough going into Mile High and playing here. So I'm actually going to say the Broncos are winning outright. Yeah, shocker. And we're going to go under. This is probably one of the bigger shockers of the week there. So I'm going to boo mostly everybody on Tampa. I think it's going to be a rough week for Tom Brady and company. Leonard Fournette, bad game. Mike Evans, bad game. The guy who I'm going to woo, I think this is going to be a big Melvin Gordon week. I think you're going to see him on the ground. They're going to hand the ball off. Especially with Driscoll in there, they're going to hand the ball off to him. And you're probably going to see some Noah Fant action as well here. So those are my two big woos. And, yeah, booing the whole Tampa offense here.
Yeah, I'm going to woo Noah Fant. That's the guy I'm looking at here in this matchup, but I'm going to boo Melvin Gordon. I think running against that Tampa Bay defense has been kind of pretty tough. The secondary is pretty tough as well. The defense as a whole is not really that bad. I think it's going to create problems for the Denver offense. They're going to more than likely be playing from behind. That's why I like Noah Fant. That is why I'm saying Tampa Bay's winning the game. They're going to cover. I agree on the under. I think it's going to be kind of a low-scoring game. But Tampa and Tom Brady does just enough to get that win and get the cover. For me, the woo, I think what we're going to have to see is we're going to see a big Leonard Fournette week again. I think he's going to take the job. It's going to be his from this point forward, and I think this was going to be a week where he's going to put up positive RB2 numbers in the matchup. So I'm not afraid to trot him out. I think it's going to be a good game for him. Moving on, we got getting into the last three here. Dallas Cowboys at Seattle Seahawks. Don't really feel like talking about it. Seattle Seahawks giving up 5.5. The highest point total on the weekend at 56.5. I'll let you hammer a point home here because I don't feel good about this game whatsoever headed in.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I think I'm going to go the under in this one. I think the Cowboys will actually cover on this, but I think it's going to be pretty close. I think the Seahawks I see winning by a field goal here and winning this game at home. So under in the Sea Chickens. As far as woos go, man, Russell Wilson might be my number one quarterback for the week here again. He just has got a cake matchup again. I mean, that Dallas secondary has shown that they are Swiss cheese back there. So DK Metcalf, again, man, I think this is just a week that he's going to absolutely go out there and eat. And then again for the Cowboys too. I mean, I think it's going to be a similar situation to last week. They're going to be down. They're going to start passing the ball. I think they're going to make a valiant effort and almost come all the way back like they did last week. But, like they should have been last week. They should have fallen just a little bit short. But I don't know where Michael Gallup has been, but I think this is going to be the week maybe that he kind of shows out. And then Zeke, I think, is going to find the end zone at least once as well in this one. So wooing on those guys, booing on Amari Cooper. I think Dalton Schultz is going to be, somebody too that I don't think he's going to be able to repeat that 8-catch performance he had last week.
For me, I'm going to woo CeeDee Lamb in this matchup. I've got Seattle covering and getting the win here. I think it's going to hit the over barely. But yeah, I think Seattle wins this game easily because we've seen Dallas dating back to last year, and it seems to be the case again this year so far, struggle against teams that are very competitive. That is Seattle and front runner for MVP Russell Wilson. So I'm going to see, Seattle, I think, is going to control this game. For me, playing from behind, you're going to see CeeDee Lamb, who's been the guy that's been targeted second most on the team so far. Dalton Schultz looked good last week, but I think we're going to funnel a little bit more of that over the middle type of action to a CeeDee Lamb this week. Try to get him more in space. Try to create a little bit more, yards after the catch type situations.
Yeah,
I like for him to have a decent game in this matchup here. As far as a boo goes here in the matchup, it's hard to pick one because I think so many of these guys have the potential of having good games. But overall stat line, I'm probably going to boo Chris Carson. He's not really got the job done on the ground so far. A lot of the
Been
points
in the passing game.
yeah,
Where the hell's that come from?
Game. It's weird. I don't know where it's coming from myself. So I'm going to say if he doesn't get it through the air this week, I'm not saying that I'm buying in on him really controlling the game on the ground. So I would boo him in this matchup is how I'm looking at that. So that I have CD Lamb as a guy to watch for in this game. Chris Carson is one that don't expect what you've seen through the first 2 weeks for me. Green Bay Packers, New Orleans Saints, Sunday Night Football. New Orleans giving up 3 points on as home favorites. Weird after the performance they just put up. Over under 52.5. Green Bay coming in riding the hot hand. Are we going to continue with the Packers here in this game?
No, we're not. Yeah, I think is one. The Saints at home, man. They just they're of that mindset, man. When they're at home, they are a tough team to beat. So I'm going to go the Saints, and I'm going to go the over. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a shootout than what some people are thinking here. Because you got two defenses that are actually not bad. But I think we're going to Alvin Kamara is going to be a huge woo.
Number one running back on my board this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely there. So Alvin Kamara, I think all these offenses here, we're definitely going with that. Keelan Cole, ooh, wow. Keelan Cole got smashed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's done.
No, he's getting up.
Wow.
So the question is, Devontae Adams looks like he's going to play. I'm assuming he's going to play, but should he not, I think it's going to be a big Marquez Valdez-Scantling week. Have you heard anything, Devontae Adams there?
It's tough to buy into what the reporting is right now. I'll wait to really kind of see what things happen on Friday with practice. But right now, he reports were the limited practice earlier. Things are looking good for him to be able to play in the game on Sunday night. For example, just earlier today, we saw a report around lunchtime that said that DJ Shark was trending upward and being able to play in this game, but 2 hours later, he's declared out.
Yep. You got to stay on top. I mean, and it could be in this too. I mean, and that's why I asked, about Devontae Adams, because, I mean, he's going to have a tough matchup there.
Against Lattimore.
Against Marshawn Lattimore. So, so that's what I said. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is the player to me. If you're looking for a deep toss out there in a DFS lineup, could be a guy that really comes out there and does something. But I think both running backs in this situation, somebody I want to woo. And like I mentioned last week, you didn't believe me, but Tre'Quan Smith, man, looked really good this last week there.
He did.
Yeah. So I think he's definitely the receiving option. Again, Kamara's going to get a lot of dump offs and whatnot here, especially with Michael Thomas out. But I think Tre'Quan Smith is somebody that, I started last week. I'll be starting again this week for sure.
Yeah, I think it boils down to the fact that this is going to be a battle of two running backs. Aaron Jones and Alvin Kamara, both inside my top 5. Those are the guys to play here and be the most.
Showing some love for Aaron Jones. Look at you.
Hey, yeah, he's turning heads. He's trying to get this big time money. So let's, I mean, he looked good last week. What can I say? So I'm gonna say you saw Josh Jacobs look halfway decent in the matchup at home against that Saints defense. I think what we're going to see is if Michael Thomas is not in this game and he sits out again, which is trending that way, I think the Saints, it just takes all the air out of that team when he's not on the field, and it works on both sides of the ball. We see a whole completely different team with the Saints when Michael Thomas is not there and active. So, yeah, I'm going to go take advantage and really be excited about the potential of both of those running backs. If you own them, kudos to you. They're going to be in store for big weeks here. We'll go and finish it up now with the Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, Monday Night Football, 3.5-point home favorite for Baltimore, over under a 55 or just flat 55. Exciting game expected to be. Should be a back and forth affair. Which way are you leaning?
I'm actually going to go with the Ravens in this one. I think the Ravens are gonna win this one here. I do think we're gonna hit the over, but you got a team in the Ravens that the offense hasn't exactly been firing on all cylinders. Same for the Chiefs. I mean, they had a rough time with the Chargers, but I think this is going to be the week that they kind of come back a little bit here and make some things happen. But I think the Ravens in the end are going to win this one. So over and the Ravens.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's going to be the Ravens covering here and hitting the over. One thing that I'm hoping against hope that we see here is that this Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Rams, a la Monday night game of recent memory where the points were just flying off the board. I'm kind of hoping we see that here between both these offenses. Is there a player that you boo in this matchup here whatsoever? It seems like another one of those smoke them if you got them type games.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill,
a little bit of a tough matchup here this week.
Possibly, but I think they move him around the field enough that he's not going to be really facing the same cornerback each and every time on each snap. So
could be, but
we also saw last week how he was underperforming for 3 quarters, and it rolls a touchdown in the end zone for a 75-yard score at the end of the game, and it changes his whole entire day.
Yeah. So yeah, he is somebody that I am booing this week. For Woo, I think Edwards-Helaire is going to be a slight Woo. I don't see him having an amazing game. I think it's going to be tough for him to find running lanes, but I think this is a week you're going to finally see him in the passing game. So I think he's going to have a nice week. And I think somebody too, which unfortunately can't really play in the bigger DFS contest, but Hollywood Brown is Hollywood Brown and Lamar Jackson are probably going to be my 2 biggest woos from the Ravens offense there.
Yeah, I've got Jackson at 3 on my quarterback list this week behind Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. For you, between the 2 quarterbacks, it seems like you're leaning more towards the Lamar Jackson game over Patrick Mahomes.
I am, yeah. I mean, the Ravens defense has been really good so far. The Chiefs hasn't exactly been as good. And Lamar Jackson hasn't been as good as what we saw him last year, which is, I think, at least so far anyway, the reason that, you don't take a quarterback so early, in some of these drafts there, you're missing out on the skill position guys. So, but I think this is the week that he comes back and is definitely going to be there and giving folks some points here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I agree on pretty much all those points there, which will wrap up the week 3 slate for the Woos and Boos of the podcast this week. And feeling pretty good about it. I'm going to go ahead and outwardly admit taking the L on this game right here. I thought Jacksonville was going to easily pull away in this game and win. It is not the case. Gardner Minshew has disappointed. Keelan Cole has disappointed. Really, Jaguars offense in general, aside from James Robinson, has disappointed in this matchup. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the loss on this.
Who I didn't realize, like we've obviously had the game on mute, but Robinson got kicked out of the game for making contact with an official.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I had no idea until I was reading ESPN a second ago. That's why I don't know if you saw me, but I was like, what the?
No.
So yeah, I mean, I would have told you I thought this game would be a little bit more of a shootout, but I would have probably said the Jags would have probably taken this one. So I am a wee bit shocked that this is the case. So
yeah, it's a little bit of a shocker in the game here. Like I said, I'm taking the loss. I was telling a lot of people earlier on Twitter today to plug Keelan Cole into your lineups in certain situations. He did not work out. Slap of the wrist on me. Bad projection ship here. So,
well, I mean, you aren't as good as wide receivers you are in other positions. So
currently at the moment, yes, but
but I mean, Laviska Shenault would have been my biggest guy, and
he didn't.
We're talking about
a game either. That passing
5 for 33.
Yeah,
5 for 33 so far.
It was not good. It was not a good night for the Jaguars passing attack.
I still feel like we're going to get one more touchdown here unless we get a first down. They're going to run the ball first down. Okay, that's a ball game.
Yeah.
Jeez. I was hoping they'd stop him here and Visca would get a nice little late touchdown, but
negative. Parting shots. Wrapping up the podcast here. Parting shots for week 3.
If you got a guy on your team, he hadn't performed the first couple weeks, week 3 is the week to start him there. Carson Wentz, Odell Beckham, Kenyon Drake. That's the biggest news, man. If you got a guy, you draft him high. As long as they don't have a horrible matchup, week 3 is the week to start these boys.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, even if you're 0-2, you're not going to panic yet. There's been some tough matchups out there. Even in certain situations for me in a couple of leagues where I'm 0-2 currently, it's been situations where I've played the top point scorer in my league each of the first 2 weeks. I don't have a bad team. I've just had bad luck. So just keep riding it. Yeah, there's certain guys that are disappointed. You mentioned Carson Wentz. We've talked about Drew Brees and other players of that ilk. Let's see how they perform this week. Let's see how they perform in week 4 before you really start to give up on them. And, the ideology that I know Nick uses a lot each and every single year is, let the first month of the season or so go by. And then at some point you're going to need some new blood on your team just to kind of change the overall feel of your roster. That's when you're going to really want to start to look at it once that first quarter of the NFL season is really turned the page.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time too, I do like a lot. I like some new blood on my team, especially if I got a team that's just kind of meh.
Yeah,
I want a team in the end that's going to go out and they're going to win a championship. I'm not gonna. If I got a ho hum team that's just kind of performing every week, that's not a championship winning team. That's a making the playoffs kind of a thing right there. So
yeah,
that's not a championship winning thing. So I want to look for opportunities right now to be able to strike that. Maybe the owner of a Kenyon Drake doesn't necessarily see coming. He's looking like, man, he's had a bad first couple of weeks, or Derrick Henry, man, he hadn't found the end zone yet. Like it's time on those boys to be able to go and throw some muscle at him of some guys who's been performing, like a James Robinson. Could you get a James Robinson for a Kenyon Drake right now? Maybe
obviously.
So.
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, so go out there. I mean, this is the week really to be able to go out and start throwing out some trade offers, see what you can get for some guys who haven't performed well, because those are going to be the guys like a Kenny Golladay. I traded for him in a league for Ronald Jones the other week. Kenny Golladay could be a championship winning kind of wide receiver for my team there. So
yeah,
throw some offers out, see what happens. If they get rejected, you're in the same spots as you would have been today. So
yeah, so it's buy low, sell high time in fantasy football after the first 2 to 3 weeks. Definitely use that going forward. Keep a lookout for the Rules and Booze article for week 3 from myself over on rotoballer.com in the morning. I will have that out on Twitter as soon as it gets published. So be on the lookout for that, but also rotoballer.com. Go to check that out as well on the bottom of the screen. Rotoballer.com, promo code WooFantasy for the discount on the best premium content on the internet. Go grab that premium juiciness. I mean, we've got DFS content on there. Rankings.
We need to get Mr. Charisma out here, man.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that once we get a little bit more.
He might have to come on the show.
DFS talk.
Sunday. He might come on the show with you on Sunday.
Yeah, if we can get him to actually talk a little bit before the games on Sundays. So we'll see how that works. But also past that, FanDuel, of course, FanDuel, promo code WooFantasy. If you're just jumping into DFS for the first time, use the promo code, get yourself some extra cash to win some money this weekend. WooFantasy promo code on FanDuel. Definitely check that out as well. But as far as that goes, be on the lookout and get ready for the Sunday morning show. We'll get you ready to go with those last minute active, inactive situations and get your lineup set for week 3. So check us out on Sunday morning. But as far as that goes, we're going to be ready for the games come Sunday. This Thursday night game is over with, and we're going to be moving on to the weekend. I am the Roto Superstar, of course, on Twitter. Nick, they see it on the screen here on the YouTube page, but where can they find you on Twitter?
You can find me at the Real FF Goat. Greatest of all time, baby. Even better than Brandon.
That is debatable because I am number 1 in fantasy and player rankings currently.
You better be glad that they don't let me do the rankings too, or else I'd probably be in front of you. So.
Oh, here we go. So, yes. And of course, follow the podcast page, Woo_fantasy. But until Sunday morning, we will part ways with you for another episode of Woo Fantasy right here on Roto